Let's hit it.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about the mental change. We will.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm thrilled that you were able to join us today. If you are new to our show, Alzheimer Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. We like to talk with real people who are in the trenches and who are doing something to make a difference in the industry and family lives with dementia. So we talk with people who are living with dementia, those that care and serve them, researchers, advocates, movie directors, singer-songwriters, you name it, everyone is welcome here. And that means all ages and stages too. So we've had kids on the show that are making an impact. So if you have a story that you'd like to share on your journey, or maybe it's a project or a tool that you've developed or a service, please reach out to me at radio@alzheimerspeaks.com, and we can have a chat about that. Now, before I introduce our guest today, I do always like to give a couple of shout outs. So I want to give a shout out to memorycafedirectory.com. I'm so excited because some of the memory cafes are coming back and meeting in person. Many are still doing virtual. I know our group is still doing virtual at this time. But go to memorycafedirectory.com and you can get more information on the memory cafes in 5 different countries. I also want to give a shout out to Coral Health. They're still allowing people to download 2 apps, Music First and Coral Faith, which are so important and such a value. So don't miss out on that. Go to Coral, C-O-R-O health.com. And then, of course, I have to mention Dementia Map. Dementia Map, I'm a co-founder of, and this has been a dream of mine for 37 years. So I'm really excited that this resource directory, which is a global directory, is finally out there for people to both input information and be able to pull information out. Now, it is free to anybody who wants to extract information. We don't ask for any personal information, and we also have a free plan plus 2 paid plans depending on what level of exposure you want on the site. So go to dementiamap.com. Next, we're going to hear from the footbar walker, which I am a big raving fan of, and we'll be right back with your guest.
Introducing the life-changing footbar walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The footbar walker revolutionized my care of George. It absolutely benefits the patient and the caregiver both, and that's the beauty of it. It's so easy to use. It folds up just like a dream. I got it in and out of the car without any effort at all. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000.
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The footbar walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the footbar walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the footbar walker.
I want to introduce our guest today. I'm really excited to have him. I met him through Facebook, like many others have met him, Larry Griner, and he cares for his mom. He has learned to use music and public interactions with others to help her focus on living fully and having plenty of joy and engagement in her life. I think Larry's got a lot of great things to share with us. Well, Larry, I'm thrilled to have you. So welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, Lori. Hanging in there as usual.
Yeah, that's kind of the mode when you're dealing with dementia. You have you have the ups and the downs, and you have to be pretty flexible to kind of go with the flow. As I said in your introduction, you're caring for your mom. Do you mind giving a little background as to like when your mom got dementia, how many years she's been living with it?
Uh, well, we recognize probably at least 11 to 12 years. And the reason why I say that is she was living independently for a number of years when the last son moved out. And I think probably a good 12 or 13 years ago, she started to kind of regress from a lot of her normal activities. But we didn't notice it because nobody was here. Subsequently, my other brother, who lives relatively close here in Baltimore and pretty much stopped over on a regular basis, started to see those changes. And eventually, after an accident she had, we became more aware of her diagnosis from the doctors at that point when she was in the hospital. And again, that was a good 11 years ago when my brother started caring for her at that point in time because he was close to her. I was in California at that time. So, but that's about the time we're recognizing probably her symptoms started showing up at that point. So.
Okay. And like you said, you at that time you were living in California, but now you have moved in to take care of your mom. Can you tell us? I mean, that's a really personal decision, and it's a big decision, one that I think many people struggle with. Can you tell us how you came to that?
Again, as I said, my brother had been caring for her for about 4 to 5 years without really knowing or actually mentioning to us that these things were going on. He did it on his own. And eventually it broke him. And he eventually sent an email to my other brother and sister and myself and said he couldn't take it anymore because he had his own family to raise, his own business to run, plus living here in the home with mom full time after our caregiver took off at 7:30 every day. And so I came home 2013 and had a 3.5 month leave of absence from work and became introduced to my mom's needs and what the disease does to you, what the family dynamics does, and what it does to the caregiver. It was easier for me at that point because I had a 3-month window to go back to California, but it was the break that my brother needed, and I needed to help him out more than anything else. But after that, I recognized that I needed to contribute in some other way, and I decided to hopefully come back a year later when I had the leave of absence again. But my company went through a reorg, and so I resigned my position and came home for an entire year. And that wasn't just to care for him, but was also to care for my father, who was diagnosed with dementia also. After being here a year, that broke me. And again, the family dynamics, not to go into too much detail, drove me back to California for some respite. And after a while, I recognized that my mind was always going to be home. And I came home for a funeral, October of 2017. And that was the first time that my mother said that she'd not remember me. Of course, the biggest heartache in my life, and recognition that I had to come back and do something again, not just for my mom, but for myself. It's hard to do anything 3,000 miles away, and definitely for my brother, because at that point, we also moved my father back into my mom's house to care for both of them. So that's a reality show in itself. But I decided to resign my position again with the job that I had started, and they gave me great support. And came home January of 2018 to be here, to hopefully do a lot for not just my parents, to develop a relationship with my father, who I hadn't had in a long time, and to take care of my mother, and to give my brother the needed break that he had needed. And the rest is kind of history. I've been here now for 3 years plus. I say it's my rabbit hole that I put myself into, because I can't go back any place to California knowing that my mom is not going to get any better from where she's at. So that's where I am. And our goal is to keep her in her home as long as possible. I've been to other assisted living places and just recognize I can't see her getting any better. And I want to give her as much life as possible. So that's why I'm here.
Well, and by you giving her that life, and that fun and that joy, that's how I met you, was through Facebook and seeing some of the videos that you share with your mom. One, I know a lot of people struggle about putting their personal stories out there, and others just walk right into it and say, "This is a way to change others' lives and to kind of give hope." And everything not be doom and gloom about it. And for me personally, that was kind of my mode of operation, was that we've got to make this better for others. We've got to get people to understand we can live differently, and still well with this disease. What made you decide to A, do the videos in the first place, and then B, make them public?
Well, the videos just turned out to be a fun thing. I started playing classical music for my mother, from which she loved all her life. And it was just for us to enjoy in the park, at home. Eventually, I started to see her become animated in many ways than one. And not so much always to the classical music, but we kind of gravitated from the classical music to the music that was on the radio in the car. Then it went to what was on my iPod and my playlists. And she was just showing all kinds of crazy antics facially and with her hands and her shoulders. And it became so popular on my Facebook page. I would put one or two posts maybe a month on there for family and friends. And a friend of mine had said, well, why don't you put your video on another caregiver website called Molly's Movement? And all of a sudden they went viral. And I kind of felt that they were kind of out of context when I put them there, because a lot of them are personal stories and really pretty sad. But people started responding, saying that Mom's videos were making an impact on them of, okay, you put a sort of fun side to dementia, if you want to put it that way. And it just grew from there, to the point where if I did not post a video of Mom's video of her doing her, as I call it, hand jiving to music, people would wonder whether or not everything is okay with us. And now where I'm kind of doing a video a day if I can, because I have so many banked. And it's just become fun for me, therapeutic for me, because I see her enjoying the music and the time that we're having together. Therapeutic, evidently, for a whole lot of other people on the websites that I do post her videos, because it gives them a chance to escape where they're at. And it's also given a number of them ideas on how they can reach their loved ones. And that's where I've recognized that without doing it purposely, it's become an opportunity to help others to, if not put a smile on their face, give them ways to communicate or have their loved ones enjoy some time with them, or even out in the public, as I do take my mom. I recognize that when she's out now enjoying the music, she likes to show off. She's a big ham. She is a big ham. When she sees somebody coming down the boardwalk or sits across from us at the picnic table, she specifically calls them out and basically starts generating a conversation with them. And if I start playing music, she entertains them to no end, and they just love her. They just absolutely love her.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video where she's singing to a couple that just got married in the park. And my heart just like melted. And you could tell theirs did too, how touched they were by that.
Well, when we go to the park, of course, we have no clue who we're going to meet up with. We don't know whether or not it's just somebody fishing or somebody out just taking a stroll. And that day we arrived and we saw about 3 or 4 people from a wedding party taking pictures. And I decided to jump in and say, hey, listen, let me take the picture for them, because they couldn't get all 4 in the photo. And I thought that was the end of it. Next thing I know, about an hour later, the whole wedding party shows up. Bride, parents of the groom and the bride. And they were taking pictures again with the lake in the background. And they had asked me to take pictures of the whole wedding party. At that point, I said, well, listen, I know you're never going to have this asked of you. I'm going to let Mom sing you guys a song for your wedding day. And then boom, boom, we walked up to the picnic table. Mom has no clue. She's wearing the most, I don't want to call it ridiculous, but funny rabbit ear headpiece that somebody had sent her for fun. And all I need to do is put the music on. And I knew she knew Etta James, at last. And I thought that that was the most appropriate song for this newlywed couple. And as you notice, when it starts to play, she doesn't know what's on. And then all of a sudden, boom, she just jumps right into the lyrics. And everybody around her, from people who were there eating lunch at the park to the people in the wedding party. We're all standing there, some of them tearing up. And the wedding couple just completely appreciated what Mom had done. And she just loves people, like I said, in general, but then also seeing the bride in a beautiful wedding gown and the groom, I think he even started to tear up a little bit. They were just appreciative that Mom would give to them something special that they can remember for a long time to come. And again, these things are just very spontaneous, and Mom's game. And when you put an audience in front of her, she'll perform. So that just wound up to be a special time and a special moment for everybody.
How neat. I mean, it just, so many times people get embarrassed that somebody doesn't, isn't fitting in like everyone else. And you're just really allowing your mom to be who she is. And when you're doing that, I mean, it's educational to the public at large. But it puts a smile on everybody's face and in their hearts. And, for that couple getting married, I mean, how they'll never, ever forget that moment. Never, ever, I mean, that is just something so, so precious. So kudos to you. Now, you had mentioned her headpieces, because I know when we talked before, that's kind of one of her signature marks now, in that people just send these things to you for her now.
Yeah, last year I bought some rabbit ears from CVS on the way to the park, and wore them for fun, in the park, and people just loved them as Mom was doing her little hand jive and facial dancing in the park. And for about a month and a half, we wore them and posted some videos on Facebook, and people loved them. And on some of the caregiver websites I was on, people just said, I was in the store today and I saw these headpieces. I'd like to send your mom. Well, within about 3 months, I had received more than 50 pair, sometimes getting 10 at a time from Amazon, of people sending her headsets. I think at this point, she's over close to 100 pair. And they're literally from around the world, as far away as Indonesia, Australia, UK, South Africa, Canada, Mexico. People have been sending her these headpieces. So we alternate, color coordinate, and everything else. And they've even gotten themed, where they send them for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, birthday, Valentine's, St. Pat's. For Thanksgiving, we got 2 full turkey heads that somebody said I had to wear one. So we wore those, and I posted a video online of the 2 of us wearing those, and it's kind of grown. And it's even outside of the headbands. They're sending their T-shirts, mugs, flowers, edible arrangements, homemade bug spray. It goes on and on. I'm amazed, and really, my heart is full with so many people that have taken to her and sending her love, and it's therapeutic for me also. So that's how that grew. And it's still growing. We just got another headset last week. So.
Oh, wow. What does your family think of all the videos?
They're loving it. They're absolutely loving it. And I think the best part is knowing that Mom's being entertained. Mom is not just sitting down watching TV all day long, and she knows she's getting the best care with me here. And we are lucky enough to have a caregiver who's been with Mom for the past 11 years that comes in also daily. So that's one of the blessings we've had, that she's had that consistency. And for me, my commitment had been that when I came back from California, was not to get a job and then come home and do what I could. Mom is my job. Mom is my priority. And so that's where my life is right now. And so I know they're appreciative. They don't have to say anything. As long as they know that she's being well taken care of, that makes the biggest difference.
Oh, that's great. I know my family, I have 2 brothers, an older one and a younger one. And there was a picture of my mom dressed up like a Klondike Kate, which she was all in red and had the feather boa and the nail polish, lipstick, the everything. And she had this just huge smile, just gargantuan. And she was having a blast. And yet my brothers thought that was disrespectful for her to be dressed that way. And I was just like, she's totally enjoying herself. Totally enjoying herself. You're the one having the problem with it. And it was one of those things that I don't think they ever really understood. They went to embarrassment first versus being able to see Mom being joyful.
I have to second guess myself sometimes with some of these headpieces. When you're getting orange or fluorescent green dreadlocks with
Mhm.
lights in them that people are sending, I said, well, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And mom just takes to it. She
Yeah.
just gets into the mood and enjoys it. She'll kind of look at you funny, but then she just gets into mode of I'm just having a good time, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. And
Yeah.
so I don't know that I'm completely past putting anything on her head,
Mhm.
but to this point, it's been very, very not just entertaining, but fun with her, and that's what's most important.
Well, and I think part of it too is, my experience with my own mom, and I don't know if you have experienced this or feel this, but as the disease progressed, she got more and more authentic in terms of who she was. She didn't really care what anybody else thought anymore. She wanted to have fun. She wanted to play. She, wanted it to be about joy, which, and I think we all want that in our lives, but we have all these boundaries and judgments that don't let it in. And to me, I thought that was just beautiful to be able to get to that place where you're not worried what anyone else is going to think, and you're just going to do what, makes you happy and
Right.
brings you joy. And, it's not like they're hurting anybody else in the process at all. You shared with me before we came online here that today she met a little boy. And so again, she interacts with everybody at all ages and all stages, which again, I think is brilliant and inclusive. And, you even said, the little boy was one to talk a lot, and parents alone can get embarrassed with that. Like, come on, leave the people alone,
Yeah.
but your mom just engages. It's not about that. So relieve some of that tension that maybe the mom was feeling too.
She's got an endless smile when she sees children, an endless smile. And she'll keep her eyes locked on them until they're out of sight completely. A lot of the personality that I see in my mom now, we never noticed when we were growing up. She raised four of us on her own. And so everybody kind of went off in their own direction. And the personality that we're noticing here, we were never aware of existed until I got to this point. And again, I just let the camera roll. And a
Mhm.
lot of times I'm tearing up in laughter also and in sorrow that I missed this and where is this person or where was this person way back when. But I'm enjoying the moment, to
Mhm.
the most. And again, I have no clue what I'm going to get when I
Yep.
turn that video camera on, but I take it all and everybody loves it. Absolutely loves her. So
Yeah, I found with my mom, kind of some of the same stuff. I think that there's borders of what parents will share with their children, when they're trying to be the adult and they're trying to set the example. And my dad with brain cancer, my mom with dementia. I mean, I ended up learning stuff about them when they were younger. They never would have told us, but they were, as an adult, then they were hilarious. As a teenager, I would have thought, "Whoa, really?" What, But I mean, you see that other side. And then we had an opportunity. My mom really wanted to be able to watch her granddaughter, and we were very nervous about how to do that, but we set it up and we gave her a couple of hours, and felt it was really safe. And I'll never forget the first time walking in to the dining room, and both my mom and my like 5-year-old daughter are holding up pictures, and you couldn't tell who was prouder of their work. and and my daughter and her grandma had such a bond. I mean, they were so close because Danielle only knew grandma with dementia. And there was just something about this playfulness and this authenticness that, to me, I just felt it was a gift, to be able to see that side, because I wouldn't have seen it before.
mhm.
It just wouldn't have been there without the disease. Um, so thank you for sharing all of that. I want to ask you, because I always think that there are words of wisdom that everybody who is caring for somebody with dementia can share. So I'd like to know from you, Larry, what are, if you had to give three important things to other people caring for somebody, what would that be? What are three important lessons or tools or
Hmm.
phrases?
That's interesting. You can almost give 10, but
Yep.
a lot of it's depending upon where your loved one is within the disease, what their capabilities are, how well they still communicate, what their past was like, what was their personality in the past. My mom was very independent.
Mm-hmm.
So that stubbornness is there. That little devil, I say, is still there in her. But they always say patience is a virtue. I think virtue is an understatement. uh, but that is definitely something you have to find, because everybody's going to run out of it when you're with this. You're constantly being tested. I think understanding of what your loved one loved in life, because that's the easiest thing to go back to try and find, as I say, a focus breaker. And what I mean by that is, with my mom and from people that I recognize that have had dementia or Alzheimer's, their focus is just into a blank stare. They don't have any. If you ask them what they think about, they don't know. They really can't verbalize it. So in those cases, I put something in my mom's mind like music, which now she's familiarized, and now she can change her focus, and it makes her a lot happier. Giving her chocolate always changes her focus. So it's knowing what they love. It's going to be difficult introducing new things to my mom, and I have to speak specifically of my mom. She can appreciate it for that instantaneous moment, but it's gone. And though most moments are going to be gone, if she has something that she'll love, looking at flowers, enjoying chocolate, a specific song, those things will make those moments at that time much more enjoyable for them, and also much more enjoyable for yourself. And sometimes it can last a little bit longer. Again, being out in the park with mom, when she sees people, now it's becoming moment after moment after moment after moment that she can enjoying the leaves, and that you're looking at swaying in the breeze, or the sounds of the birds, those kind of things. Change that focus, and you can make a difference in their life. And the third thing, wow, it's a situation, because your days are, as they say, Groundhog's Day every day. You're going to go through the same emotions in the morning, the sundowners in the evenings, whatever it might be in the afternoon. You got to try to make the best of all of those times. And again, you're not going to change those physical attributes that they're going to go through. It's just a part of their life, unfortunately, from that point on. I think, again, the patience comes back with working with it at that time, and hopefully they're creating an atmosphere that they're not going to dwell on the sad things, or you won't dwell on those sad things. Try to make those moments as peaceful and happy and entertaining for the both of you as possible. Conversation is great. Conversation is great, not just with yourself, but with others. And I think at those times, again, you're making their minds work. So that's the interaction that, again, you not just have with myself, but also with others outside of the house that make a difference in her life. So those are just three things that I know that can make a difference. So.
Yeah, I think those are all really important. The patience, like you said, I mean, we need that in life in general, period. But you need it a lot more when you're dealing anytime with a chronic illness. The understanding, just knowing the history of what is somebody like. They might not like what you like, and so that we need to know that, because if you're putting on your music that you enjoy, but they don't. And what I found, and it sounds like you found this too, that, when they're peaceful, when they're joyful, I could be peaceful and joyful. I
Right.
wasn't as stressed, but when they're stressed or angry or whatever, and something's wrong, then, that I'm living that too. And I also think you had mentioned in terms of, getting to know what they like. I think a piece too that I found really helpful is to realize that they can pick up on my mood. Sometimes we're so focused on them and what they can't do, but they can still read all our nonverbals and all our mixed messages. And I think that that is something that we really have to teach people, that a lot of times they're perfectly content until we walk into the room, and it's our baggage that changes their mood, and then we get mad at them because now they're upset. And they're just reflecting back what we're trying to hide maybe in ourselves sometimes. Have you experienced that?
Definitely, definitely. And again, my mom being a single mother for so long and being a very independent and smart lady to this day, still extremely, she still speaks German fluently at this point and a little Russian. So one of the things that I've recognized is my mom as a person, as a human, as a woman, is still in her, and she still brings that out. The part of her that hurts the most, or that hurts me the most than anybody around her, is that familiarity she has with her children and the people around her and her family. Those are the ones that she does not remember. She does not remember me probably 95% of the time. She can say that I'm her son, but she can't say which son. And sometimes she'll ask, "Are you my son?" So that part, which of course is the part that's more intimate to us as a family member, and the one that hurts the most, is not there and is waning more and more. But I find that the person she is, loving children, loving interaction with others, loving the flowers that she's always loved, loving the classical music, that is so in her still. You just need to bring that out and keep it introduced to her that she can continually enjoy that. I was with, we were at the park not too long ago. We were talking with a couple, and she started going back on her past as a little child, where she grew up in Philadelphia and lived with her father also in Norfolk because her parents were divorced. And some of the stories she was telling the couple that she was talking to, I never knew. But it was her. It was my mom as a young lady, as a little girl growing up, that she retained and was able to say it without any kind of hesitation. Again, those things a long time ago, of course, in most cases do stay with her. But anything, I'd say even in the past 20 years or so, she cannot retain. But I got to give her the opportunity to be able to bring those stories out when possible. So, that's where the interaction with others is priceless.
Yeah. Well, and I do think, when somebody doesn't recognize their family by name, I know how people struggle with that. And what I encourage them to understand is that typically they've gone back in time before they had children.
Right.
And what we have to focus on is not so much our name, but that they feel safe and comfortable with us. Because that's the biggest gift you can give anybody at all. They're not afraid of you. They want to engage with you. They feel comfortable with you, because they remember more emotions than the specifics, to a situation. It really is about how you make them feel. If you could rewind the clock, and would you still make the same decision in terms of coming back and caring for your folks?
Without doubt. Without a doubt. I was lucky. I wasn't married. Well, I'm not married. I don't have any children, didn't have a mortgage. I was lucky. I had the flexibility to do this. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less. But again, and I don't want to get too emotional over this, but the bigger reasons why I came back is because my brother gave so much of him without ever complaining. And what he gave up in his life, I can't repay him enough, because as I mentioned in something I wrote a while back, is he handed the baton to me. He kept mom going. And I'm able to at least take it to this point and make the biggest difference, not just for her, but for him. So, it's multi reasons why I came home, and he's a big part of it. So, but no, I have no regrets. Of course, we'll never have regrets in this. As everybody tells me, you'll never have regret.
Yep.
The only regret I have is that anybody suffers from this disease. Period.
Yeah. And the more we talk about it, the more we raise awareness, the more we share our little tips of what works. The easier it's going to be on the next person, and the easier it might be for them to step into kind of the public eye and share their stories. Because I personally think that's how we change the world, is really by sharing these personal, intimate stories that people can not only see and deal in a logical way, but they can really feel the difference and the importance, through this process there. For you, how has this experience changed your life personally?
I think the biggest thing is the awareness. We go through life and we get older, and you know your parents are going to get older and what we're going to do, and you really don't plan well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time you do it is when it's time to do it. And it's at that time it catches you off guard as to what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky that I had a brother that did what he had to do to make things well here for my parents. He's lucky that I'll say he has me to step in now to take it over from this point. I've become more aware of what the caregiver goes through. Those people who are only child that don't have any help, outside help. And now where do you go from there? So being an advocate for them, that's the awareness that I have, that I want to try and make a difference. And again, the videos have made evidently a little bit of difference for a lot of people, in the sense you can't just sit back and let your loved one just be there. You can still interact. You can still find ways to communicate, to entertain them, and then also point them in some directions as to where they can go to get some support or help. I've had other organizations reach out to me, and that's been great. And now I can at least send some other individuals that need that help to those organizations to get their personal help. So I have a mission while I'm doing this. It's also therapeutic for me, knowing that you're helping others makes a difference for me. And as long as mom keeps singing, we can keep doing this. So we're making it work.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, Larry, that I'll just say from my own perspective, I have some videos of my mom singing when she was in her end stages. And my mom's been gone since 2014. And I still watch those videos, and it can still change my mood. I can have a really bad day and I watch one of those and I'm like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. So I think you're helping everybody, but I think they will really help you and your family later on too, as things progress where they can't communicate quite as much, or even after somebody passes, just to be able to have those kind of legacy moments. And your mom can still bring joy to everybody. I mean, to me, that's a really important piece that sometimes families forget about, is grabbing that legacy, again, knowing what brings them joy, having the patience to deliver that and be with them while they're joyful, and then capturing those moments, because they are really going to help you a lot later
Definitely.
on down the road.
That is correct. That is correct.
And what a great lesson to teach our children as well, in terms of interaction. Everything doesn't have to be black and white, and everything doesn't have to be difficult. You can still have plenty of joy with this journey. Anything else that you wanted to share? I know when I asked you about, if you had any tips for people, you said, oh, there's probably 10 I could give. So if you want to share any others, now would be the time to do that.
Well, taking care of my mom, I have a game plan on a regular basis, and we're lucky enough to have a park that's really close to us and offers the distance, especially now with the COVID circumstances. And it offers a whole lot of people, that are able to pass by us and give us that interaction that I crave for her and that she actually loves. That's a big part of it. You can't pull them out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's tough being out in public, or for that matter, depending on, what their physical capabilities are, or again, how far the disease has progressed. but don't deny them that activity that really is healthy for them. I know when I talked to one of mom's doctors years ago when I came home, they said the physical activity itself is a big benefit, a big benefit.
Mhm.
They were saying at least 5,000 steps a day can make a difference to slow down the progression of the disease, you know. But again, who knows? Who knows? But if you don't do something, they're just going to slip away a lot quicker. So they have to be active. Being active physically actually is active mentally, because you have to think about what you're seeing, stepping, keeping the body in motion, and those kind of things. That's extremely important. When I do reach out to people that are sending me messages on Facebook and they're saying they're in the beginning stages or their loved one has just been diagnosed, my first uh, bit of advice is keep them active. Keep them active. It makes a difference. I noticed the difference in mom. If I wasn't here, even with a caregiver here, my mom would still be sitting a majority of the day. So you know that that's not physically beneficial to them. But that's the biggest bit of advice I can give them. Keep them active. It's hard to know. I mean, my mom is 90. It's hard to know, is the age the issue right now, or is it the disease, or definitely is it both? And I know it is both, but you can combat both of them a little bit just by keeping them active.
Mhm.
So that's 4 through 10 at this point,
Yep.
as far as advice, because everything else will fall in place. Again, I get scared when I see or actually hear from people that write to me online about where their loved one is, especially in the final stages. And without going through all the issues that they're going through, that scares me that my mom could be in that situation or circumstance in the future. Who knows? But I can't sit back and dwell on that. I got to deal with the here and now. Every day, as I said, is Groundhog's Day. So just treat it that way and do the same thing that you do that makes a difference today. It'll make the difference tomorrow. And hopefully the day after that, the day after that. The little things that pop in there that are out of the ordinary, great. It can still be enjoyed. But remember, it will be forgotten.
Mhm.
Make the best of it. But just getting them out and about makes a big difference. Even if we don't see anybody when we go to the park, she still enjoys the birds flying by, the lake that's in front of us, the smell of the flowers that are around us. So, I mean, again, that is probably the biggest bit of advice I can give
Mhm.
to anybody that is going through this, even in the beginning stages. Definitely do what you can to keep them active.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I would add to sometimes, especially with the older population, kids will say, I want to hug my parent, but they weren't huggers. They
Mhm,
never hugged, and I'm like, you have to do what you need to do too.
mhm,
And it might not have been acceptable, when as they were growing up, but kids always get hugs. And when they've gone back in time, many as they progress, they really appreciate those hugs again.
yeah.
And touch is something that people miss, or, if you're not comfortable with a hug, you can always, massage their hands with lotion or their feet, or, but touch is really important. And as people age, they usually get less touch. And that is something I think the body craves if we recognize it or not. And again, most appreciate that. And again, everybody's different. So you know your person the best, but don't forget about that either.
And I should have mentioned that. I should mention, mom, absolutely, she'll reach over to just grab my hand sitting at
Mhm.
the kitchen table, just out of the blue. And she just says, I want to be, I just want to hold your hand. And I totally agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, we give comfort to people in so many ways throughout our day that we don't realize. And I think, to me, one of the gifts in this disease was getting me to slow down, to
Mhm.
just sit in silence in my mom's presence and being satisfied with that, realizing how connected we are, where, when you really love somebody and feel comfortable with them, you don't have to say words, you don't have to do anything, you just get this solace of being in their presence. And a person with dementia can still give you that, and you
Right.
can give that to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So don't ever let the disease take your relationship from you, I guess is his bottom line. Now, people can reach Larry on Facebook. Just put in his name, Larry, Larry dot, and then Griner, Griner. He also has a YouTube channel that you can find by putting in his name there as well. Thank you, Larry, for all you're doing, and what a wonderful example you're sharing with the world of how to care for a loved one with dementia. You're doing an amazing job. So
Thank you.
keep up the great work, and keep sharing those videos.
We will do our best.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you again. And to our
Thank-
listeners, I hope that you like, click, and share this. Check out Larry's Facebook page. Maybe you're going to want to send a headpiece, to his mom to wear, or something else after watching those videos, and be part of the joy. Bye now.
Bye-bye.